A little bit of an unusual video for you tonight. Unlikely to see any moving trains simply because we're in a bit of a mess. Do you remember? Now, I have cleaned up a little bit and I've got some brick paper to go on the front of here. But we're not going to do that tonight. I thought I'd show you some of the locomotives kicking around the layout and explain how we've got so diverse. Well, you probably know already, we're into model railways and that's what happens. I've already shown you a class 20 and a class 40 and we're not 30 seconds into the video or something. Alrighty then, the story behind this one I had on the bench a few weeks ago. I think the video was called Unintended Maintenance. It got a bit of paper jammed in under one of the brushes. It too used to be one of the ones that would revert to 3. Why have I got it? Why have I kept it? Well, because it used to pull 3 carriages around a layout that came in a set, and the layout was on a ship. So I was the radio operator and we had a train set in the radio room. Well, the Gronk. I've had it a couple of years. Doesn't run very much. Dickens of a job fitting a chip to it. So why did I buy it? Again, I got that one in the north of England. It was on sale on the basis that 2 things. First, every layout has to have a Gronk. I love the name and no idea where it came from, but I used to see these as a kid. It's one of my childhood memories. So that's what that's about. This one has a whole video all to itself. It's one of the chipping videos where I show you how to add a chip. It's rather special too. Another relative gave me that one. I rather love it, actually. It came along right at the time when I was going through a, should I continue in model railways or should I carve this thing out and do something else with this room? I hadn't done much with the trains for a long time, and one of my nephews gave me that, and it got me back into trains. And if he's watching this, and I think he sometimes does, thank you. Now, the reason the locomotive is special is because it would be very commonly seen towing these around. Now, I got 2 of these for the price of 1. I ordered 1 and 2 came. I contacted the company and said, you sent 2? And they said, well, just keep the other one. I thought, well, that's nice of you. So now I've got 2. So that's what happened there. Correction, I don't have 2 of those. I wish I did. I have 2 of those, the baggage cars. That would be an expensive mistake. That was less expensive. So no, these also from Dover. I bought this one when they first came out. For some reason, they only had it in green. I kind of like the blue one. But you can't have everything. I'm long-term thinking about building another layout. And if I do, I will bring you along with it. Now, if I were to build another layout, one of the possible layouts that's high on the list would be Dover Priory. It's a fun station with so much going on. And these things were there all the time. We used to live down in that area, and I used to go to school on that one. The Sardine Special, the 2 Hap. So that's why I have to have that one. The all blue one in the back, I don't believe I ever saw the 4-car units in all blue. I may have, but I would remember them in the blue and grey. Now the 2-car units, absolutely. They used to haul themselves into the station in blue, so I must have caught them right at the transition between the 2. But anything EMU is popular with me, but that's more recent. My favourite class of locomotives are the Battle of Britain class. That isn't, and we can argue that all day. I'm sure the experts and rivet counters will tell me exactly what that is. That's Combe Martin, which is a West Country locomotive, more likely to be seen on the rails down to Exeter and that direction. My excuse is I used to see these in two places. One would be in Dover Marine, hauling specials and Pullman trains, so the Golden Arrow, they would come in there. And the other place you would see them would be on one of the preserve lines in the southeast. Now, I don't remember which one. There was a preserve line at Tenterden, which we would go to some Saturdays. I'm not even going to try and remember what it was called, but there was one down there somewhere, and I used to enjoy that. Big tank engines. Well, the reason I've got a couple of those and would be very happy to have more, it doesn't matter the region. I don't know which region this one was on. We used to see these in the big stations in London when we were there, and they just did something for me. They sometimes in later years were being used as station pilots. Now, again, the rivet counter people will argue black and blue that that wasn't the case. They were there doing their thing. Now, why they were, I have no idea, but they were. But in the background there, you'll see in the travelling post office. Now, that's important to me because my grandfather and my uncle on my dad's side used to work on that thing. They also used to work, well, the grandfather used to work on the underground system that the Mail had that's now a museum. I need to get to see that. So that's why that train. So what's a Class 40 doing in my world? Well, my world is really steam. I'm a steam train kind of guy. But I've got an awful lot of electrics and diesels, and they're the ones I run. So here's the reason we can't run trains right now. We've got the station in bits, and I put the canopy up on top of the hillside, which is on top of the fiddle yard. So in there are a couple of schools class, and there is one king in there too. So if you were modelling the Southern region or the Southern Railway, and you were more into steam, you'd have to have schools and kings, especially as you already had one of those, which I was then told didn't run down there. It did because I saw them in Dover. It had a Golden Arrow thing on the front. I must do that. So why then the Great Western? Well, again, it's a boxcar. There's all kinds of variants in there. These things went region to region. I don't have one that says Southern on it. I remember the guards vans. They used to come on the back of the coal trains. So for me, these coal wagons, first of all, if I were getting into weathering, the coal wagons would have to be the first thing. All of the ones I knew had a white line on one end where they would be able to be tipped up and all the coal would shoot out. They were a grey, I suppose, lighter grey colour, but they were filthy. You can't have pristine coal wagons going to the coal mine, which is where we are. This is the coal mine. I saw pristine. They used to come chugging through Dover and then through Martin Mill, Warmer, Deal, and then between Deal and Sandwich was a branch line off to Betsanger, and they would bring rakes of cleaned up, repainted, looking brand new with dents in them, coal cars or wagons to the colliery. We'd see them go jong, 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 jong through, and there would be a guards van tagged on the back. So that's why there are guards vans. That's a really cheap one. I'll show you that in a minute. This one's a much more detailed version. It has the lamp irons, and there's Fred in the back waving at us. I didn't need to be told when this model came out that that was a model of Deal Station. I knew because I passed it on the train every day on the way to school. There used to be a wheel, a bit like a ship's steering wheel, in the windows up here, and there was a crossing right here, and they used to have to turn that to make the gates close before it went to full automatic barriers. And that way would have been Deal Station. Now that's nothing like Deal Station. Deal Station only had 2 platforms, and it had an unusual track that went through the middle. I think it's been lifted these days, but it used to be there when I was going through there. Why the underground train? And why the 20? There's another one hiding under there. My dad used to work on the underground. He worked at the stations, and I've always had a fascination with the underground. So that's going to stay whether or not it's supposed to. The colour of the 4-car EMUs is that's what it's supposed to be. Going through our end of the world, the 12-car sets had been, or 12 carriage sets. It's cars for underground, carriages for overground, isn't it? I don't care. It's all mixed up anyway. But they used to break the 12-car into 3 4-carriage sets, and so we would often go to school with a buffet as one of the middle carriages, even though it was never open. You've seen me adding 3rd rail. Well, that's obviously for the EMU, but the 4th rail, why would I do that? If you are going to run underground trains, you've got to run them with 4th rail. That's the first thing. Second thing, there's a number of stations, number of stories that would tell you that the underground took over from the overground. That was mostly on the Metropolitan line, I get that, and all of that. But what about the Northern line heading south now through Brixton to Lewisham down the Old Kent Road, that whole thing? Grove Park, Bromley North, I've seen pop up on lists of places that could get underground. So yeah, we can use our imagination. And I can stop having train wrecks, but I leaned on that just 2 minutes ago. Now then, while we're putting this train back together, do you notice these great big couplings here? Let me show you the other one. I think it might be clearer. Look at that. Huge, great monster. Well, here's the thing. It works. Funny that, isn't it? It works. Number one on my list of things is always, it's got to work. I've got a very great deal of old rolling stock. Some of the old steam engines are really old. They were never intended for DCC operation. And yet here I am running them DCC. I tend to leave trains assembled in rakes. So other than me just knocking this one off the track, that hasn't been apart for I don't know how long. The very first time the travelling post office came apart was just a few days ago when I showed you I added that extra baggage car. I did that because we're just overcrowded with trains here right now, and I'm working on that block section, trying to get trains to stop in the right place. This one, we've got it a little further forward. I don't want to go further than it is, but even with a 5-car train, there's room for more in the back. I like to run trains. Why would you have these huge, great locomotives pulling 2 carriages around? That doesn't make sense. Look at these lovely things. They're as old as the hills. No idea even where the toad came from. The one in the back, I do know where it came from. That's an American outline. That's been weathered, has light weathering on it. It's not just dirty. That was very close friend of mine that he's the one that gave me the electric locomotives with the pantograph we showed you. I'll find one of those and show you as well in a moment. Yeah, he and I were best of friends, and so those have huge sentimental value. Of course I can't run them on this railway. They barely move. I do. I showed you the other day. I think that video is to do with scale. I'm not sure. It's a few weeks ago now. But so there are things on the layout that are huge sentimental value. Sometimes you just have to find room for things. But lurking, there are always things that mean something to me and not to anybody else. I should really get that one down. That belonged to somebody I got into model railways. I had one in my attic and he came to see it. And tragically, as a teenager, he died. Well, his parents made sure that I ended up with the locomotive. It's a non-runner, and I'm one of these days going to take it to pieces and get it working. It has a split drive gear. Of course, the majority of things I've had, past tense, in the railway have been Hornby. I think I've got one of these in every colour. There's that one, this one. I thought the blue one was there. It isn't. There's a blue one there somewhere as well. Who knows why, but people would give them to me or buy them for me. I had no idea what to do with them. I may eventually make one of these into a hen house. I've got so many of those. I think I've got 4 of them. Sometimes you pick things up, so you've seen one of these on the layout, and then there's another one over there that's much better than this. But you can't have too many guards vans, and they were cheap, so that's why I have them. Now these, a gift. You see me have to repair this one straight out of the box. That was annoying. Hornby needs to do better. I'd hate to see them go out of business, but I could actually see it happening. It's one of those really sad stories. I have 2 of these. There's another one there, the blue one. And there's a couple of other locomotives there kicking around. The shelf layout is in disrepair. I could get it running probably in 10 minutes if I put my mind to it. But this is what I've kept these for, to run up there. Now there's a number of other locomotives that were running on that, but they were all very similar to this, 040. And of course, you all know, if you're going to run at scale speeds without stayer lives, 4 wheels isn't enough. So, do you hear me making excuses for every piece of rolling stock I've got? Well, kinda. Would I sell any of it? Well, perhaps. Oh, and I did show you a 3-car diesel set, 3-carriage diesel set. I'll get that right. I live in America. Please forgive me. Not for living in America, but for calling things wrong. There you go. This is what I'm talking about. I got this out of the box the other day. It's a 3-car set. Now, I don't know if I'm right, but I rather think I am. We used to go and visit my great-grandmother on the Haringey line, and it was, if it wasn't that, it was something very like it. And we would sit up behind the driver, and you could see from the this side out through the driver's window, like you can on that one. Whether or not this was actually the kind of train that was on that line, I don't know. but that's why I've kept it. Somebody will tell me in the comments, that wasn't it. It doesn't mean I'd sell it because I've got attached to it. But this is the one that can't really run because of the enormous flanges. I've got to get those wheels changed. Pullman cars. Well, these are the old version. I really would like to get myself half a dozen of the very latest and greatest. You've got to spend your money carefully. I don't have much of it to spend on trains. But the reason I have this particular version is the very first train set I had was 3 of these. I think the particular one I had car number or something or other written in there. And for Pullman, I am correct to say car. I think I had Anne. Don't remember what the third one was called. But anyway, that we had. And there was a Britannia class locomotive that was hauling them. Now, I would be much happier with the latest and greatest. And certainly if I end up modelling Dover Priory, that's going to have to happen. Bubble car. It used to run on a shuttle that I had on a layout. Worked perfectly fine. Still works perfectly fine. I just don't have room for it on the layout. That's one of the locomotives that's been running on the industrial layout. And that one's been doing a whole lot better. An industrial mine layout for me, it doesn't make living room viewing. But it would be the Kent Coalfield locomotives, which is why those 6-wheel versions up there and the one in blue is so important. If you take a look at any Betsanger Colliery or Tilmanston or Snowdon Colliery, they all had trains. Were they blue or were they green? They were so filthy you couldn't tell. So what would I like to do? Well, now that I'm back into trains and making videos, a couple of things. First, we're going to get this one working satisfactorily and to a state of finished. Secretly, don't tell, I'm using the mistakes I'm making, and there's a lot of them, on this layout to steer my future construction in other layouts, plural. A friend of mine and myself have talked about an underground layout. That would have to feature, and so would the underground trains. Morden is the Northern Line station we've chosen. We are not picky modelers, and so we wouldn't worry about there being Piccadilly Line trains on the Northern Line. That would be just fine. I suppose in the end, too, I'm good at the electronic and the electrical end, and it was easy for me to let the layout get really complicated because it just isn't difficult for me. But if you're going to go down that road of a very big layout with lots of trains running all at once, which I have, then DCC really is your only sensible option. I'm quite happy with DC. I understand it. I think that's why most people who are DC stick with it, because they can much more easily understand the DC. I've got my head around DCC. I understand the electronics. I can't get into the fine detail of the circuitry. I could, but it's just not worthwhile. So building chips, why would you do that when they're $30 a pop? Some people say, because they're $30 a pop. Yes, but you can't get the components for that. Challenges, Arduino. I might do that. Get a few of those and see what I can do with those. I had at one point a 009 track, again on a ship. So somewhere, I think all that's left of it is a Talyllyn carriage. I have one that I made and painted. We didn't have much room up there, and we made this, I would sit up there for hours when I was on duty painting models. That would be kind of nice. A little narrow gauge. There's plenty of good narrow gauge stuff out there these days, 009 stuff. I could probably get away with putting one of those in the living room. My wife's very tolerant. But that's it. Yeah, I thought you'd like a look at the rolling stock. Just a little overview of what's around. I don't spend a lot of money on trains. I really don't. I can't. But if I see a good deal at an auction, or I'm in England and there's a sale on or something, I might pick something up. Yeah. Well, thanks for watching. Hope you've enjoyed me musing without actually seeing a train run. You saw me knock one over. You didn't see any running tonight. Thanks for watching. I'll see you the next time.